Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. On this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, eating disorders, ADHD, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. We've had all walks of life on this show. Everyone that's been serving life in prison, lawyers, psychologists, people in recovery, anyone that has a story, you're all welcome on this platform. Head over to that YouTube channel, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. You can get all video format from each episode over there. I'm on Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you can find the show. I'd love if you could leave a review. It helps the show grow organically. And if you'd like to follow me over on Instagram and follow the podcast and what's going on in my personal life, head over to @depthsofdarkside over on Instagram, everyone. And with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my next guest. I got Nate Awad from the Texas area of the United States. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you and what you do, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been sober and clean for a little over 13 years now. I've been in the health and fitness industry for about 10 years. I used to 2 CrossFit gyms, just loved helping people because worrying about my health and fitness and getting it right and where it needs to be really helped me advance in my recovery. Got into the online coaching space. I have a company called Jacked Addicts, and I help others that are trying to build a beautiful life and a relapse-proof life in recovery and move down that road and becoming the best version of themselves possible.
That's amazing. Let's take us back to the early days. What was it that got you into drinking, drugging, whatever it is you were into? Were there some traumas or some things leading up to when you got into everything?
Yeah, I don't think much trauma there. I had what they call a normal family unit. So my parents are still married to this day. So nothing really out of the ordinary there. When I turned 15, that's when I kind of started partying. I started drinking. Um, I wanted to hang out with my older brother. He was 5 years older than me and his friends, and they were further advanced in the party scene. I think a lot of it was social anxiety. I'm an introvert by nature. I just felt comfortable being by myself. I could sit in a room all day in silence and be totally fine. So a lot of the drinking was just to open up, feel accepted at parties or whatever we were doing. And it just progressively worked itself into my life. I started just partying on weekends, smoking a joint behind the dumpster at school, got into LSD and mushrooms, the party scene, raves, things like that. But alcohol is always the common denominator. And it was always the one that was there. And it was kind of like, oh, I start drinking. What else can I get into?
Yeah, that's the same with me. It was always drinking. But then when I got further and further along, I could care less about the drinking. It was just the certain drug that I was after. As long as I could have that, I was happy. But drinking usually led to everything else, as you said. That was I think it's the same for most people. It's the
Right.
common denominator. It's always and the thing is, drinking, drugging, or addiction does not disgrace either. It doesn't matter who you are at the end of the day. I'm friends with lawyers, police officers, people in higher up places. It doesn't disgrace who with anyone though too. It does not matter.
No, not at all. And I prove that with what you're saying because of the clients that I work with. It's people you would never guess had an issue with addiction or drugs or porn or alcohol or food addiction. You're right. You could be addicted to basically anything, and too much of a good thing can be a bad thing at times too. So yeah, it does not discriminate at all. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, color of your skin, your background. You can grab a hold of anybody.
Yeah, it's a deadly disease, and I think that's a whole nother epidemic out there right now with what's going on in the world. There needs to be, I've talked about it many times, but more funding in certain areas that aren't getting the funding, especially in addiction services, mental health services as well. They're lacking, for lack of better words, especially up here in Canada where I am. I don't know the situation out in the States, but from talks with other people, like there's certain areas that are lacking that need more help than others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, that's how my program came about and is just come to fruition. When I owned the gyms and first started my online coaching business, I would just help anybody. It wasn't zeroed in on people battling addiction or in recovery or anything like that. But what I noticed over time is those are the people that really latched on to me, that I really connected with. And it just led down the road to, hey, I talk to all these people. I'm vulnerable. I share my story. A lot of people are reaching out to me on how I did it and how beat addiction and keep advancing towards becoming the best human being possible. So then it was just a light bulb. All these people need help. And then I started focusing purely on people battling addiction in recovery, or needing to get into recovery, or in the cycle of relapse and can't seem to get themselves out. So it's been a really amazing journey, and helping as many people as I can, whether that's coming into my program and me helping them and coaching them and mentoring them and building a beautiful life in recovery, or pointing them in the right direction and giving them some advice, something that they can hang their hat on and try to move forward on their own. I want to help as many people as I can, because I've been in that darkness. I know what that place is like. I crawled out, and all I want to do is reach back into the hell that I was in to pull as many people out as I can.
I love that you say that. Just helping as many people as you can. And that was my, whole premise behind creating this platform with my podcast and stuff too. I was going to niche down and talk to just people in recovery, but I thought about it after a little while. You know what? No, but everyone has a story. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. We
Right.
should all share a story. I believe wholeheartedly in the power of storytelling really helps everyone as a whole to share those vulnerable moments, have those vulnerable conversations, those tough conversations that no one wants to have. And that's what I love about this show. We have those conversations, and that's what it's all about, man. Where can people find your coaching program if they want to reach out to you and stuff? Nate, you're right off the hop, you're talking about that program. If they want to sign up for it or inquire about it, where's the best place to reach out to you?
Yeah, so just the social media outlets, Nate underscore Awad on Instagram. You can see all my content there. I make a bunch of reels, tell my story. People in recovery or battling addiction can really find uh, commonality there, because the stories I tell of where I was and what I was battling with can really help you feel like you're not alone. So Instagram at Nate underscore Awad. Also, you can find me on Facebook at Nathaniel. My mom only calls me Nathaniel when I'm in trouble. You can find me on those social media outlets, and just DMing me if you have questions about the program, or not even the program, or if you're stuck in that kind of cycle of relapse, or you're trying to make the decision of wanting to get clean and sober and get into recovery. Like I said, I want to help any way I can. And as of right now, that's probably the best way to reach out to me, is find me on those social media outlets, and just DM me. I'm here and ready to help any way I can.
Yeah, so if anyone is out there looking for help or stuck in that cycle of relapse or just looking for a good little motivation and stuff, definitely check out Nate's stuff over there. He's got some inspiring stuff. They're funny reels. They got some comedic humor to them. It's all about bringing light to those dark times and the times of darkness and stuff. And I love what Nate does over there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And just like you said, the storytelling aspect of things. You don't realize the people that you can touch and the people that you can reach with just being open and honest and vulnerable with where you were, how you've come out of it, because people are hurting out there, especially with the nature of the world these days, with everything going on. I think, like what you said, there's basically an epidemic inside of the pandemic, and I think that's a mental illness and addiction and all of those things that aren't really being addressed. So it helps to know that there are people out there that have gone through what you're going through, have beat it, have gone through it, can guide you through it, and just letting you know that you're not alone, because the disease of addiction is an isolating one. It will get you isolated and feeling like you're hopeless and alone and in a really dark spot. So that's why I try to share as much of my story as possible, because you're not alone out there, and there is help regardless of which avenue of help you take. There's a lot of things out there, but I even have people reach out to me that aren't battling with addiction or in recovery, but they have a loved one, a spouse, a child who is, and they will tell me, and they'll message me and DM me and say, your content and everything that you're putting out there has helped me better understand what my spouse is going through, or whoever that is. I really appreciate what you're doing, and keep it up. So that touches my heart in a different way too, because not even a person that's dealing with the addiction, but knows somebody that is, and they're getting benefit from watching my reels and my content and things like that. It just makes me feel like I'm putting some type of impact on the world and again, helping as many people as I can.
100%. And I sometimes get those DMs or messages as well. Not even like you said, someone that's in recovery, it's a loved one or a mother or a father of their son or daughter, or whatever the case may be. And I've had good chats back and forth and just giving them suggestions on what worked for me. It's not a one size fits all, like you just said, either for recovery. What works for Nate may not work for Chris, and what works for Chris may not work for Nate. You know what I mean? You got to find your right realm and what's gonna work for you in recovery, because it's a different path for everyone. We all took the same path to get here, getting shit-faced and fucked up. It's a different path for everyone, how the recovery is gonna work in their world and stuff like that. For myself, personally, I don't do tons of meetings, barely anymore since the pandemic. I'm not an online meeting guy personally. I hate them when I have to do them for work. I wish I could do my podcast in person, but that's not the case for podcasting. It's a little different. There's more to it than just the meetings. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying everyone is gonna agree with me, which they're not, and that's okay with me. Doing this podcast or keeping connected with people in recovery outside of the rooms is what it's all about too. Get phone numbers, stay in contact with people, surround yourself with the people you want to be like and stuff like that is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. They say, show me your five closest friends and I'll show you your future. And I think there's a lot to that because in battling addiction and getting into recovery, a lot of the times why we relapse is because we get rid of the alcohol or drugs, and we don't change any of the other stuff. We keep the same people, places, and things that we were doing when we were in our addiction. So that's our body and our minds know that, and that's our comfort zone. So it's a lot easier to go back to that because that's basically all we've known, and that's how we've dealt with life. Some of us for decades. I was in addiction for a good portion of 15 years, and that's how I dealt with life because I didn't want to deal with life at all. Emotions, thoughts, anything that came up, paying bills, being responsible. I didn't want to face any of that stuff. So I turned to drugs and alcohol. And then once I got rid of the drugs and alcohol, then all that stuff came crashing down. It was just overwhelming because I actually had to deal it with a clear mind without drugs and alcohol. And I relapsed a bunch myself, and what I found is that was the main reason is because I didn't change my habits, my routines, the people I hung around. I tried to keep the same old places and people and things that I did in addiction, and that just kept me arm's length away from going back. And then I truly had to dive into what's going to be best for me. What's going to be the thing that's going to keep me moving forward and advancing in my recovery. And that's when I really latched on to fitness, worrying about my health because I spent 15 years destroying my health. I believe that has to be a main focus of ours because I have fatty liver and things that weren't, going well for me, and getting my health under control and working out, eating right, working on stress management, time management, getting my life where it needs to be. I started reversing some of those complications that I had from all the drugs and alcohol.
That's nice. Yeah, no, health, fitness goes hand in hand with mental health too, to take care of all that, eating healthy, people, places, and things. I love that you touched on that though too. Like until you change that, you're just gonna keep continuing over and over again. It's like the definition of insanity. I use it a lot, but it's so true. Like the true definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you're not gonna change who you're hanging out with or the places you're hanging out with, and so on and so forth, but your life is not going to change. And I had to learn that the hard way many times. I thought I could just hang out with those same people, but not do anything, or maybe just have a couple puffs off a joint, but I wasn't going to do any hard drugs. And it just leads a couple of weeks goes by not just doing that. And then you're just, I got that itch. Finally, you just got to wipe all those people out. They aren't your true friends. But you'll see who your true friends are once you leave that whole, scene or whatever it is you're into.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
usually you can count them on one hand for the most part.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I have any. Yeah, I don't have any of my old friends from those days. And I like to see it as I just outgrew them. And, I obviously had more of an issue and a problem than they did. It got to the point where I chased basically everybody off, any type of relationship that I had. I was just unbearable to be around. Once I made the decision of this is non-negotiable for me. If I continue down the path of drinking and doing drugs, it's either prison or death. And that's a harsh reality of us in addiction. It never gets better. And it's those romanticizing voices that come into your mind, like, oh, you've done good for a while, just like what you were saying. Well, maybe I could take a couple puffs off a joint. You'd be good for about a week, and then here it comes. Let's get after it. And then we're trying to make up for lost time, and we end up being worse off than we were before. And that's like what you're saying, insanity. I call it the madness of addiction. And you get stuck in this cycle, and it's hard to break out. But you have to change your lifestyle, and this has to become non-negotiable for you, because for us who are truly alcoholics and addicts, there's no such thing as moderation. One is too many, 100 isn't enough. And it doesn't matter how long you can think you can moderate it, whether it's weeks, months, a year. As soon as you go back to it, man, it just lights it up and it's off to the races again. So,
Yeah, all bets are off if you feed me anything, man.
right.
The bills will not get paid. I will lose my job. I will probably end up in jail or arrested. It's proven. I've proven it every time that there's several things that will happen, and most of them do happen.
Yep. Same with me, man. I know where that path leads to, and it's not a pretty sight. So, much happier in a life of recovery, and just knowing, I like to say, I'd rather be an alcoholic and drug addict, knowing that I can't use or drink again, than trying to convince myself I'm not continuing down that path, because I just know where that path leads. And yeah, I'll be homeless. I'll be divorced, not able to see my kids, selling my car for drugs and alcohol. And then I'll end up in jail and in prison. And I've shown that's the case. And just thinking that and knowing that's a possibility again is sometimes enough and all I need to keep me on the path. So it's a sad reality of ours,
It
but
is.
there is hope, man. There is hope. Like you and me and a bunch of other people out there, we beat it, and it's amazing to see, because once we get rid of the drugs and alcohol, like alcoholics and addicts, we're wired differently, and when we get free from that, like we're able to accomplish amazing things. And we're so driven, and our back was against the wall, and we were in some of the deepest, darkest places. And the people that get out of those places just have a hunger to be amazing people and make huge impacts. And it's just, it's a beautiful journey to watch, no matter who you are, where you're at, where you come from. Just beating this and knowing where you came from is truly inspirational.
100%, man, 100%. So what has been your favorite recovery tool, Nate?
So, if you watch me on Instagram, you can tell I like working out. That was probably once I found that, and the way I use CrossFit, train CrossFit, I own 2 CrossFit gyms. Absolutely love it. The community aspect, it checks all the boxes. So you get around goal-oriented, positive, like-minded people. It pushes you. I always tell people it's probably 80% mental than physical. Yeah, I'm 44 years old. I enjoy looking the way I do. I'm in the best shape of my life that I've ever been in. But going to the gym and kicking my own ass in the gym does more for my mind than it does for my body. And I call it tranquilizing the silverback in my mind. And you can tell if I go a couple days without working out, my wife will tell, it's probably time Nate goes to the gym, because it's getting a little rough around the edges and things like that. Finding my path in fitness, working out, and health, those have been huge tools for me. And it took me probably about 2 years to really find those types of things. I tried to just white knuckle it, tried to make AA meetings, I tried to work the steps. I worked some of the steps, didn't work all of them. And I'm similar with, I believe AA, rehab, NA, the institutions, establishments, that they're really good at getting us sober and clean, but and getting us from -10 to 0. But I think we need a plan past that. And how I felt is I felt stuck in AA. Like I was just white knuckling it, trying to stay sober. It was people smoking cigarettes, down in pots of coffee, eating like crap, down in energy drinks, just a really unhealthy environment for me. So I had to search and see what would help Nate the most, and not feeling just stuck trying to survive and stay sober, and actually advancing in my recovery and thriving in a life without alcohol and drugs. And that's what I really latched onto, is the fitness and health aspect of it.
Nice. And yeah, like we mentioned earlier too, it isn't a one size fits all for everyone. And I won't disagree with you. I was one of those guys that would drink tons of coffee at the meetings at first. Like I'd been clean for a few months, I'm a little over 2 years now, but I was up to almost 20 cups of coffee a day, in about
Right.
month 4,
Yep.
and my fiance looked at me and says, "We gotta stop this. If it's not one addiction with you, it's another." It's
Right.
like the addictive
Absolutely.
person people don't understand, addiction, like, she had no clue what addiction was about. It was a whole 'nother beast to her. Especially because I was in and out of the rooms when we first met, and so, like, we made an awesome post the other day too, though, because you have to support and show the love to the other ones. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today, kicking my ass, having patience with me, but then it really fucked with her mental health and her mental well-being, putting all this energy in me not reciprocating it at the beginning either. So it goes both ways. I gotta give it to the people on the other side, though, too, that have support the people that are in you gotta put yourself in the other people's shoes too, and see what the hell chaos you've put them through though too. So
Yep.
we cut the coffee out. I'm glad it's been caffeine free. The odd time I might have a cup of coffee if we've run out of decaf at home, but it's no 20
Sure.
cups a day now. I was literally up to 20 cups of black coffee a day.
Yeah, it's insane. We'll latch on to things, man, because we get rid of the drugs and alcohol, and it's like, man, I need to fill that void.
And then
Uh,
the hyper focus with me too with my I'm ADHD, and I'll never outgrow it, but there's always ways the time management like you mentioned earlier. So that's another thing I'm working on. We're getting it better and better as the days go. Plus I'm in car sales, so that's a whole nother thing.
right. Yep. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, but you just latch on to anything really at the end of the day, but I found some really good healthy outlets that I've latched onto, like the podcasting,
Mhm.
creating content, those types of things, and I have other hobbies that I'm starting to slowly get back into that and not I got away from them because of my addiction. My addiction took over, and that's all I cared about was drugs and me. But getting back into the fishing, playing hockey again, getting out and being active. The gym's being closed up here right now. I'm finding it a tough time, but my girlfriend, my fiance says, "Stop making excuses for doing the home workouts." Well,
Right.
they're closed. She
Yeah.
says, "If I can do them, you can do them. I hate them too, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's
so
a lot of it's gotta be discipline. You gotta
exactly. Discipline is one was our conversation we had recently, her and I.
right.
You don't have the discipline I do. I hate doing lots of things, but I had to learn the studying I did to get where I am. I haven't been 14 years in business for myself for no reason.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you recognize cravings or urges, and what do you do when you do have one? I know you've been sober and clean 13 years, but
Uh-huh.
I do get cravings and urges sometimes still pop up, even though I'm a couple years in and stuff like that. I don't think they'll ever go away. Thoughts, those types of things.
I would say, the further down you get down the road, they get less and less. I just think that you learn to deal with them in sober ways and clean mind, clear mind ways. And at the beginning, it was tough because I did have cravings. I had to avoid the normal gas station or liquor store I would drive by. I would take a different route. I did anything and everything I could possibly do to stay sober and clean. And like I said, I made it non-negotiable for me. It was just that was who I was now. And drinking and drugs wasn't a part of my life. It wasn't a part of who I've become. That person is dead and gone and basically a stranger from who I am now or who I was becoming. So I just trained my mind to say, this is not a part of who I am anymore. I made a new identity in recovery. I've created a new ecosystem in recovery to where I don't put myself in those situations. And then the voices that would pop up and romanticize, hey, you've been good for a while. You can probably have a drink and control it. I just know that those voices are liars and they got less and less as time went by.
Yeah, you can't hold on to those reservations either.
No.
Having reservations with yourself. If at the end of this day, if I'm good, it'll be okay if I just have one.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
No, it's not okay if you just have one.
Not at all. Nope, not at all.
I don't drink normally or do anything normally like my fiance does. She still has a glass of wine. Can put it down after one. That would no, we'd have to have the whole liquor cabinet cleared out before we went to bed. That would be me. You
Right,
know,
and why would
if we
anybody
bought 2
drink
cases of
this
beer and 2 40s or whatever of liquor, they all gotta be gone before we go to bed. That was just my mentality.
That's right. If it's there, it's gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, that's unfortunately that it's a disease. It's whatever you wanna call it. The disease is just gonna take over your life if you don't get a grip on it either.
right. Yeah, that's what it does, and before you know it,
It's an allergy. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yeah,
I have an allergy to all those things.
right.
But yeah, if you were forced into gladiatorial combat, but could only choose one weapon that isn't typically considered a weapon, what non-conventional weapon would you choose?
I would say kettlebell.
Nice. I was thinking he's gonna come in with some fitness thing, but not probably not too heavy of one because you got to carry this damn thing around and swing it.
There you go. Yeah, you got to be able to throw it.
So what size would be perfect for you, Nate?
I would say maybe a 26-pound kettlebell. I think I could carry that thing around and heave it if I had to.
Yeah. I guess if you're only allowed to have one, maybe you could have one in each hand.
There we go. Yeah. Dual kettlebell battle.
That'd be awesome, man. Maybe we could set this up down in Texas somewhere.
Yeah, they'd probably allow it in Texas.
Can we do something at the CrossFit place, you know?
Set it up, sell tickets.
Nice, man. If you had one piece of advice, Nate, anyone out there listening around addictions or anything really in life, what would be one good piece of advice you could give everyone?
Yeah, I'm big on staying in the present moment and expressing gratitude for what we do have. We can get really caught up into what we don't have, what we need for the future. So a quote that really stuck with me early on was, if you have one foot in the past, one foot in the future, then you're just probably pissing on your present. So finding
Love that.
ways.
Can you say that again? Repeat that.
Yeah, if you got one foot in the past, one foot in the future, you're probably just pissing on the present. So that really stuck with me. And because if we think of what we did in our addiction, all the messed up things and stupidity and idiotic things we did, well, that's just going to bring on depression. And there's nothing we could do about that. That's already done, that's gone. So why even worry about that? And then thinking about the future. When I had all these charges against me, I was newly sober. I had a probation officer. I had 10 years probation. I in and out of jail, assault charges, you name it. I had a pretty good rap sheet. And I was thinking, man, I'm not going to have a future. Like, how is my future going to be? And all that did was bring on an anxiety. Early on, when I got my sponsor in AA, he gave me a book. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, I believe it is. And that really just awoken me to staying in the moment, staying in the present. And that changed everything for me. So I would say, don't beat yourself up about the past so much and don't worry about the future. None of us are promised tomorrow. So why even worry? Try to stay present, try to stay in the moment, whether that's spending time with family, whether that's getting sober and clean, staying in the moment and staying present and being grateful for what you do have can really change a lot of things for you.
It's one thing I'm trying to practice myself too, is just being in that present moment, especially when I have my kids over on the weekends, they come. It's huge. Like whether I'm working at that too, like just putting my phone away when I'm get home from work or whatever. You don't need to be on your phone around your kids all the time. Living getting a puzzle out, getting a board game out to play with them,
Right.
taking them outside. I know you don't have too much snow down in Texas, but we go tobogganing in the winter and stuff,
Right.
or out for a nature walk, those types of things. Living in that present moment, walking for that, taking a slow walk though, not rushing through it, as my fiance says. I'll get rushing through things, and then I don't even take the time to just take everything in that's around you. She's a visual learner, just loves taking in that vision as she's a photographer. So she just
Right.
sees different things that I don't see. But just slow down and enjoy everything around you.
Yeah. No, that's good advice there. Just slow down and enjoy it. And then also being present. If you have kids, the way they spell love is TIME. They want your time and attention. And if we're stuck on a phone all day, whether it's work or getting lost in social media land, they're watching. They're always watching us. And all they want is your time and attention. And that's how they spell love. So what you said just really hit home with me. And when I was an alcoholic and drug addict, all I could care about and worry about is when I was getting my next drink and my next drug. And a lot of other things just fell to the wayside. And I'm conscious about that these days. I'll never let that happen again. They deserve, I have 4 kids. They're 11, 9, 7, and 4 years old. And they deserve the best father that I can be. And that's another way that I can really beat the voices, beat the romanticizing thoughts of ever drinking again. Because I know if I latch on to that again, I could lose them, and they don't deserve that. They deserve me to be present and to show them unconditional love and guide them in life the best I can. So that what you just said really hit home with me. And that's being in the present moment and being present with them. Whether you're living with the kids or like you said, if they come in, they have to come and visit or whatever that is, putting the phone down, taking an hour off of working and just really getting in and spending time with your kids, it's priceless to them.
Yeah, and I heard something like a while back. I don't remember if it was a guest on my show or someone just talking, but think of it this way: you only get 18 summers with your kids,
Right.
then they're gone. End of story. That really hit home hard,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
especially having a teenager and all the years I missed. Physically, I was there. Mentally, I wasn't. So all those years I missed with him, especially, was hard. That really hit home hard because I only got like four. Fuck, really only got 4 more years till he's off to university, college, or the real world thing, and
Right.
he's an adult. You only got 18 summers with your children.
It goes quick.
Enjoy them.
Right. It goes quick.
It
Absolutely.
does go by
does.
quick. I can't believe, that a month and a half ago he turned 14. I was like, "Where the hell did time go?"
It's crazy. Yeah.
Then a 7-year-old daughter, but it's creeping up soon. It's like, "Holy cow, it's just,
Yeah.
I got first communion coming up," or whatever it is. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, all these things in life that I remember doing as a child, now they're all coming up for my kids or her and stuff
Right.
like that. It's just wild.
Right. Yeah.
Time flies, man. So just live in the
It
present
does.
moment, like Nate said, everyone, and enjoy it for what it is. Don't worry about yesterday because you can't change it, and tomorrow hasn't come yet. So
There you go. That's it,
But
man.
before we go though, man,
Uh,
if you were to do your venture again, what would you do differently, Nate?
Venture as in my path to getting sober and things like that.
Or just any adventure, man, or venture like how you got to where you were sober. Yeah, like
Yeah, so I'm big on I wouldn't change anything in my path of in addiction, getting sober and in recovery because all of those things have made me who I am today. And I think without those things, I'd be a totally different person. I wouldn't be in the position I am to be able to help people in the places that I have been and help them get out. So I don't think I used to wish I things were different and I didn't go down that path and whatnot. But today I'm totally fine and comfortable with the life that I led and because it's just brought me to where I am with my beautiful family and having a successful business, pouring back into people and helping as many people as possible. I don't know if I would really change much because I'm really big on our trials and tribulations and everything that we go through makes us who we are today. And we can learn from those experiences as long as we're learning from what we royally screwed up, then I still think we're moving down the path in a good place.
oh, for sure, 100%. But I don't know if I changed my past either because it has made me into the person I am today. Like I wouldn't be in the position I'm in if I didn't do the things. I wish I would have got into car sales a lot earlier in life, but I don't think I would be in the position I am with car sales or be able to even be trusted with the things I'm doing.
Mm.
Probably wouldn't even got a job in the shape and form I was in at that point in time. So no, but I'm truly grateful. 1 year into my job, and I've been doing very well and been successful in that, building this platform as well with the podcast and those types of things too. My past is my past, but I can't sit there and dwell on it. But I can only better myself going forward, though. At the end of the day.
Exactly.
So where can everyone find you again before we go, Nate? Or if they'd like to follow you, shoot you a DM, just drop those links there again, and or where they can find you on social media and stuff. And I'll drop the links to everything else for Nate in the show notes. So if you'd like to find, just click the links in the show notes, everyone. But yeah, take it away, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram at Nate_Awad. So you can find me there and DM me there if you have any questions or whether you're in recovery, whether somebody that is, whether you're still in the addiction and you got questions or need some help. You can reach out to me there on Instagram, Facebook. It's Nathaniel. Again, you can reach out to me there, DM me there. But the social media channels will be probably the best bet to get a hold of me if you have any concerns, questions, or anything like that. And again, I'm ready and I want to help any way I can, whether that's coming into my coaching program or if that's just me helping you point you in the right direction and helping you find help any way that I can.
Thanks again for coming on the show. And before we go, please head over to that YouTube channel, everyone, and hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. You can follow myself, Chris Swick, over on Instagram at Depths of Darkside, and get little clips from each episode over there, and little looks into my personal life and the journey I'm on as well. And if you'd like to email the show or become a guest on the email me at depthsofdarkside@gmail.com. But thanks again for coming on the show today, Nate.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem, man. You have a great rest of your day.
You too, brother. We'll talk soon.